Hello, thank you for clicking on this video. I'm Miss Hallgarth and this will be a short video all about revision for National 5 RUAE, which is Reading, Understanding, Analysis and Evaluation. We're going to be focusing on understanding first of all, in particular in your own words. So if you know that this is a weakness for you or this is something that you're not too confident in, please by all means get a notebook, get a pen, have a wee seat, get a cup of tea and get ready for the video because we will be revising everything to do with in your own words. How to answer them. So the first step, read the question carefully. You will know it's an in your own word question because it will tell you using your own words in your own words. I want you to underline, highlight the relevant part of the question. This will help you link back. Step 2, you need to find the relevant part of the text. You will have a large article in front of you. Go and look at the lines it mentions, circle, highlight, show the marker that you know where it is because you might get distracted in the exam, you might be panicking, so at least you have a guide for yourself. The next step, you're going to underline and highlight the words you know you will not be able to repeat. So you're going to read the sentences and you're going to be like, okay, this is relevant to the question. I know this because I've underlined and highlighted that. So I'm now going to use the article, I'm going to underline and highlight the words so I know that I'm not allowed to repeat them because we know that we lose marks because we accidentally forget to paraphrase a word. And then lastly, you're going to answer in bullet points. Some of you do answer in paragraphs and that is absolutely okay, but bullet points mean that you're writing faster, it's more succinct, and also the marker has an easier time. They're not going to be searching for your mark, which means that nothing's going to be missed. Add insurance answers at the end when you can. So you might want to pause the video, take a couple of notes in your jotter for this one, and then we're going to move on to what these questions may look like. So example questions, I put 3 up on here already. If you want to have a look through them, these are from past papers throughout the years. They differ slightly, but every single one of them has something in common. You will see that each question has the phrase in your own words. So you're going to summarise, identify, using your own words, it doesn't matter. It will have in bold in your own words for National 5. Along the right hand side, you'll see how many marks each one's used to. Unlike higher, you're actually given quite a few marks for in your own words. It's a part of a large proportion of your exam, which is good. You want to be able to practice this as much as you can, so you know that during the exam, at least you have using your own words to fall back onto. Top tip for you. Please don't be thrown off by the question. There might be words within the question that you don't know, and a lot of candidates look at this question and they completely miss it out because of one word. Just rephrase the question without that word. Take out the word you don't know, replace it with one you do know, and at least give it a chance, especially for in your own words questions. If it tells you to look at a line, you know, you look at the line and it's to do, for example, with football, then just summarise the line if in doubt. It's there to scare you. Please don't let an unfamiliar word scare you. Now, we're going to go through a couple of past papers together and we're going to try them. So you can pause at any point if you want to write down the answer before we go over the answers because you're pretty independent at this by now. That is absolutely fine, but I'm going to go through the answers with you regardless. So we're going to follow the steps that we've already done. So it says, look at lines 8 to 11 and explain in your own words why Mark was so disappointed. You should make 4 key points in your answer. Now this is useful to us because it tells us the lines 8 to 11. It tells us the point of the question, so we followed that step. We underline the relevant part of the question. It's all about why Mark was so disappointed. And lastly, it gives us a hint. It tells us how many bullet points we may need to use. So you might be faced with this large part of an article. You do not need to read all of it. You've already read through it once. Now you're on to the questions. You don't have to read all of it again in order to get lines 8. Just skip right through it again and go to line 8 to 11, which I've highlighted here. So we've isolated that part of the article. Now what we need to do is we need to read through it. We can read through it together or you can pause the video now and read through it yourself. Okay, so Mark never made it into the school team. He kept trying to the trials, both at primary and senior school. But he was just off the pace. The disappointment was always bitter. You could see it on his face. He yearned to play, to progress, to be able to read out a match report at school assembly, one of the honours of making the team. But he never did. This is how you should lay out your question ideally. It means that you're getting the maximum number of marks. So you're going to write the number of answer that you're answering, so number 2, and then you're going to start off by saying Mark was disappointed because. This just opens up the answer so you can go back to the question each time. You're not going to get distracted by other parts of the article. And then we answer in bullet points. So I've highlighted into the school team. I know that I can't use the word school or team. I paraphrase. I say he did not get picked for his football squad. I haven't used the word school or team here, so I know I'm okay. The next part, he kept trying, kept going to the trials. I know that I can't say trying or trials or kept going, so I'm going to say despite attempts, he failed the tryouts. I know I haven't said trials or trying. I've said failed tryouts, hoping that that is okay. Next, despite all of this, he was just off the pace. This meant that he wasn't skilled or fast enough. I haven't said the word pace, so I know that I am safe. He yearned to play and to progress. He wanted very badly to get better, but didn't. He wanted to be able to read out a match report at school assembly. He wanted very badly to announce the scores to other pupils, but didn't. So I haven't used the word assembly there or match report, so I think I am safe. Notice here that I have done 5 answers. It was only worth 4 marks. I have had an insurance answer there because I might be panicking. I might not be confident enough that I have rephrased everything because you don't have enough time to read over them again and again. I've highlighted it, I've highlighted the article, and I've tried to reword everything, but I'm running out of time. So I've done an insurance answer just in case, which is when we're going to look at the marking scheme to see how well I have done with you guys. You might have done it along with me. So the marking scheme. Here's my answer and here's the SQA marking scheme. I've just taken a screenshot for that so you know what markers are looking for. This is exactly what we see when we mark your exams. The first one, he never made it onto the school team. You need to have glossed the word team. We can see here that I did as well. He did not get picked for his football squad. So I've already got a mark, which is brilliant. It says here that he kept going to trials, didn't make it. I said that he never got picked for his squad. Here it said he was just off the pace. It says here he wasn't fast enough. Here it says he yearned to progress. I said he wanted to get better. And lastly, it said that he wanted to be able to say at assembly the scores. I said announce to the pupils. So I've gotten 4 out of 4. I also had a 5th mark that was right, which means if I got one wrong, at least I am getting full marks. Well done for getting through practice 1. Now we know how to answer the questions in a succinct way within bullet points. Here's another chance for another top tip. Please remember that RUAE, you need to understand what you're reading before you analyse or evaluate, which is why understanding is such a large proportion, a large percentage of your exam, especially when it's talking about summarising or identifying. These are the types of questions that you should put insurance answers for, mostly because they'll probably be the more largely marked questions. For example, they won't be 2 marks like an analysis question, they'll be 6. So please, if you do have time, remember insurance answers will definitely help, just in case you do forget to paraphrase certain words. Okay, so now we're going to attempt practice 2. I'm aware that some of you just needed a wee reminder on how to answer in your homework questions if it has been a while that you have gone without revising RUAE, and I've given you that reminder, so you're confident now. It would be the chance for me to read out the questions and then you can pause when it's convenient for yourself and attempt the questions without my guidance. Again, after you unpause, I will be going through the answers, so at least you can mark it yourself and know that if you're on the right track or not. So practice 2, We're going to read the question. I'm aware that it's a large bit of text this time because it's 6 marks. So it says, look at lines 12 to 25 and identify in your own words 6 points which the writer makes about young people hoping to become professional footballers. So what we need to do is we need to follow the steps again. I need to look at the lines. I need to understand that there's a large bit of text. I don't want it to scare me, so identify that. I look at lines 12 to 25. Then what I need to do is I need to find the point of the question. I've been told that's one of my steps. I need to follow that. I know the point of the question is about young people hoping to become professional footballers. And lastly, what I need to do is I need to think, okay, this is 6 marks. How many bullet points is it? It will say 6 points, but I know that if I need an insurance answer, I can go beyond 6. I'm not going to get negatively marked for that. So we've looked at this big bit of text. We know it's line 12 to 25. So what I need to do is I need to isolate that passage now, which is what I've done here. I've highlighted it. Okay, so we've identified the part of the passage that we need to, and as you can see, it is pretty lengthy. There's 2 paragraphs involved in this, whereas the past paper we did, there was only 1 and a bit. Now, I don't want this to scare you. You're going to read through it and just be rest assured if it's a larger paragraph, at least there's more marks available. So we're going to read through it together. This is your chance to pause it. If you don't like the sound of my voice, absolutely understandable. You can pause it and read through yourself, skip a couple of minutes so you can miss me saying it. Otherwise, I'm just going to read it out loud for you. It's been reported that 98% signed by English teams, 16 failed to make the transition into professional football. Now already, I know the question is about young people hoping to go professional. So what I do is I think, okay, as I'm reading it, that's relevant to me. I'm going to highlight it. Many struggle to cope with rejection at such a tender age. Clinical psychologists report that many suffer anxiety. Again, people that are hoping to go professional suffer from anxiety. I highlight that. A loss of confidence, another one. I hope that maybe that accounts for 2 separate marks. Anxiety and confidence are 2 different things. I highlight it. And in some cases, depression. These youngsters are often described as being left on the football scrap heap. I've seen 2 things there that really stand out. The fact that people that try and go professional in football get depressed if they're unsuccessful, and how brutal the process is. They're left on football's scrap heap. So the first paragraph already I've got absolutely loads. I don't stop there though. Just because I've got 5 or 6 doesn't mean that I write those down. I read all of it because who knows if anxiety and confidence is going to be 1 mark or 2 separate marks. It's too much of a risk, so I carry on reading. It seems to me though that the number rejected is in fact higher. After all, the sifting process starts from the first time you kick a ball at the local park. Now that seems important to me, the fact that they've used the word sifting as if it's a big process and there's lots of opportunities for you to fail or succeed. So I highlight that. I was one of the few who made it into my school team. I captained it, but when I made it to trial for the district team, surrounded by the best players from all the schools in my area, the standard was high. So I was a bit fast to the game there with the clicker, but I've underlined that as well, I've highlighted it. The standard was high. I mean that they have to jump through certain hoops in order to be successful. Parents were everywhere. I don't think that's relevant, so I don't highlight it. I remember my heart beating out of my chest when the scouts arrived. I did not make it. I was crushed by the disappointment. How could it be otherwise? But I also realised that the race has only just started for those that had made the cut. So although he's unsuccessful, people that did go professional the next level, there was a race. It was still just as competitive. That's relevant to the question, so I'm going to highlight that. Of those who made it to the district team, only a handful were picked by Reading, the local club. And of those who made it to Reading, only a fraction made it into the professional football. Perhaps none of it made it all the way to the top flight. So I've got enough here. I've got more than enough. I know I've even got enough for insurance answers. So this is when I start to answer the question. Now you can answer the question yourself after I've highlighted the relevant information. You can pause it now and do it. Remember, 6 bullet points at least. Or we can move on to the answers and we can do it together. So our answers. I know that I can't say 98% and I can't see teams. So I'm going to rephrase it. I say a small proportion are successful. I think that's good. I've paraphrased it well if I do say so myself. The next bit, many suffer anxiety. I know I can't say suffer or anxiety. So I say that a lot of them were badly affected by stress. Now I'm hoping that anxiety and confidence is going to be 2 separate marks. I haven't got the marking scheme. I'm a pupil in an exam, so it is a big risk, but I'm going to take it because at least I've got insurance answers up my sleeve. So instead of saying confidence, which is a difficult one to paraphrase, I have said a lot of them had bad self-esteem. Now lastly, depression. Again, I might say depressed, but I'm worried perhaps that the marking scheme is a little bit less lenient than I would hope. So I'm just going to change the words completely but convey the same meaning. A lot of them had poor mental health. They're left on football's scrap heap. That does seem pretty brutal to me, so I say that. They go through a brutal and uncaring process. So I've got 5. I only need one more, but I know that I've got more than one in the next paragraph that I can highlight. So we're going to go and look at that now. So I've highlighted a few here. I say that after all, the sifting process may start from the first time you kick a ball at the local park. The sifting word stuck out to me, as I've said before. So I paraphrase that. I say that they had to go through a lot of trials to make it. Most were unsuccessful, but the few that were did have a hard time. Which brings us on to the next one. The standard was high, so I know that the hoops they have to jump through are pretty serious. So I say that. I said they had tough measures to meet. I haven't said standard and I haven't said high. Now I'm at 7. I've got an insurance answer, but I've already highlighted something else. Yes, I'm stressed. Yes, I need to move on to the next part of the exam, but I'm going to throw it in there because I've highlighted it. I've done the hard work. I might as well put it in just in case. So I've said I can't say race and I can't say who made the cut. So I say those that did make the cut, they faced tough competition even after being successfully picked. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the marking scheme. You can take notes if you want, you can pause it, write it down in your notebook, but we're going to move on and you're going to see exactly what the examiners are looking at when they mark your exams. Okay. Now there's quite a lot in the marking scheme. As you can see, there's almost double the amounts available. So it was a big part of the text. It was 2 paragraphs, so of course there's so many. As you can see, each bullet point is worth a mark. If you look at the marking scheme, it will say that you need to gloss over certain words. You're not allowed to include this word or that word. So they've put that if you're crushed by disappointment, you feel distress. I didn't identify that, but that's in the marking scheme. So rest assured, if you identify something, you leave the exam and somebody else didn't, you might still have a chance at a mark. So don't panic yourself after the exam when you're sharing your answers and you maybe pick up something that someone else did not. Top tip time, one last time for you. Please don't be put off if there's a large amount of text to refer to for in your own words questions. It looks scary. Yes, there's 2 large paragraphs, but remember you've already read it once. Reading it again and looking for something will be a lot easier the second time. It's also a good thing that there's lots of text. It means that you will not struggle to find an answer. There's always going to be more than just the 6 marks, just the 4 marks hidden in there. When we referred to the past marking scheme from the SQA, it was 6 marks, but there was nearly double that for the marking scheme. So rest assured that if you find something that someone else didn't when you're discussing it after the exam, that's okay. Feel confident that perhaps that your looking skills were pretty good. It means that you're looking for the answers in the right way. And it also means that insurance answers will definitely be available for understanding in your own word questions. Well done on giving practice 1 and practice 2 a go. I'm sure now you're feeling a little bit more confident and understand the way we should lay out our answers for understanding, in particular in your own words questions. You can choose to pause the video now. You can go and do past papers if you're feeling extra confident. The next part of this session will be just little tasks to begin with, just 2. First task is going to be short sentences to help us understand what words we should rephrase and what words we don't need to. And then task 2 is a bigger set of text. Again, if you're feeling confident, you can leave the video now and head over to the SQA website and have a look at past papers. Otherwise, carry on watching. Task 1, change sentences below, ensuring you convey the same meaning. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read out each sentence. I've underlined what words I suggest you rephrase, because I think this will help us feel a little bit more confident, in particular with shorter sentences. So I will read them out. You can choose to pause it if you want to and just do the task by yourself, but as I read, feel free to paraphrase them yourself. Number 1. Lucy looked beyond the outskirts of the ruined city and saw movement that surprised her. So pause it now. Have a wee go at number 1. Number 2. The thunderous storm knocked the boat from side to side, its rage hoping to startle the shipmates inside. Pause it now and have a wee go at number 2. And finally, number 3, which is a little bit more difficult. A shocking 89% of dog breeds have drastically changed their appearance from their original breeds 100 years ago. So you can have a wee pause and have a go at that question as well. I must stress, now these sentences are short, they're more condensed, it will be more difficult to paraphrase. When you have longer sentences and longer paragraphs, it will be a bit easier, but this is good for practice because in the exam you will be feeling stressed and you might forget another word for boat, and that doesn't mean that you don't understand the text, it just means that you've had a wee bit of a panic, and everybody does. So practicing these more condensed texts will help you. We're going to go over the answers now. So number 1, I know that I couldn't say looked beyond the outskirts, ruined city, movement, or surprised. So I'm going to replace number 1 now with my own answer. You can have a look at your answer and give it a wee tick if you're confident it meets the criteria. Lucy glanced on the circumference of the town and did not expect to see a change to the usual stillness. So we've changed movement to a change in the usual stillness, and we've changed outskirts to circumference, city to town. So I'm pretty happy that if you've done something similar, you should definitely give yourself a mark. Now number 2, I knew I couldn't say thunderous storm, knocked the boat, its rage hoping to startle the shipmates inside. So I've written the loud gale instead of storm, hammered instead of knocked, ship instead of boat, and angrily wanted to scare the people within inside instead of wanting to frighten the shipmates within. And finally, number 3, which was the hardest one, saying dog breeds in a different way can be a little bit more difficult. A large majority of canine varieties have strikingly altered looks when compared to what they may have looked like a century before. So instead of saying 100 years, I've said a century. Have a wee look at your jotters or your notebooks. If you're happy with your answers, please do give yourself a tick because this would be more difficult than a larger bit of text. We're going to move on to a larger bit of text now. Task 2 says, answer the practice question below. You'll notice I haven't underlined anything like I did in task 1, and that is because I probably believe that you are getting more confident and you probably have paused the video already and are writing down the answers, which is good. That's what we need. You're growing some confidence in your own words. I'll read the question, you can pause it, and then I'll read the text yet again. It says, explain as far as possible in your own words what similarities the writer sees between becoming a mother or father and becoming a vet. I notice that it's 2 marked, which means I need at least 2 bullet points, but we're aiming for 3 or 4, so I'm keeping that in my mind. I know there's more than 2 in that text, I just need to find them. The text says, in my lifetime, parenthood has undergone a terrifying transition. Becoming a mother or father is no longer something you just are, it's something you do, like becoming a vet, complete with training courses, parenting vouchers, government targets and guidelines, and a host of academic and caring professionals, as well as their websites and telephone helplines on hand 24/7 to guide you through what to expect when your 20-somethings return home. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to underline some of the words that I identified while I was reading along that I know that I could perhaps paraphrase well. So I've identified training courses, parenting vouchers, and government targets and guidelines. I've also identified caring professionals, their websites, and the fact that they're on hand 24/7 to guide me. I know there's others in there. You might have identified something else, so absolutely well done for that. But those are the easiest ones to me. So I'm going to do the answers now. I've laid it out as the similarities between becoming a parent and a vet are, so this helps me when I write that down. It means that I can always link back to the question. I know what it's about. I can keep it current. So the first one I said, online help is being offered. So instead of saying websites, I've said online. Experts are there to help instead of caring professionals. Both offer education sessions to help instead of training courses, and authority standards have to be met. And I said government targets and guidelines. So I'm pretty happy with those. I've done 2 insurance answers, just like I'm sure you did. So well done. And I'm happy that I'll probably get 2 out of 2 again. We only say probably because we haven't seen the marking scheme. But we've done 4, so chances are that we will get 2 marks, which is good. We're going into our next exam feeling confident. Now finally, task 3. Well done, we've made it through more condensed sentences, which will be a little bit harder because there's nowhere to hide for those ones, and we've done a larger paragraph. Now it's your time to try a past paper by yourself. I recommend doing the 2017 past paper because this is what this YouTube video was surrounded by for practice 1 and 2, so at least you know what to do for a couple of the questions, so it'll give you a little bit of a confidence boost. Go on to Google or Safari or some other search engine and type in SQA website. You'll find National 5 past papers for English and click on 2017 for the question paper, not the marking scheme. You can mark it afterwards or ask your teacher to mark it for you. I'm sure that they will. So attempt in your own words questions. We know in your own word questions apart from the rest because it'll say that phrase in bold. So have a wee go at those. This brings us to the end of the video. Well done for working along with the revision session and trying some of the questions yourself. I'm sure you've got most of them right. Hopefully this has helped you feel more confident for in your own word questions. Remember, it's a large part of the exam, so even giving these questions a go is going to put you in good stead. Please make sure to like the video. I do know it sounds cliche, but it really does let us know that you are finding these videos helpful and that we can post more for you, more content. And I hope that you have a fantastic week.